three distinguished personalities possessing the curious mixture of virtues and vices: Count Henry of Burgundy, his wife Infanta Teresa, and their great son Afonso Henriques, played significant role in the development of Portugal as an independent nation. Afonso's contribution is well known, but their parents' role, particularly of Infanta Teresa, is worthwhile to mention. In 1096, in an attempt to divide the increasing Burgundian court faction against himself, El Bravo, Alfonso VI, the king of Leon and Castile, in a politically motivated action, married his illegitimate daughter Infanta Teresa with Count Henry, a French knight who had come to his court to fight against the Moors, giving dowry the county of Portugal by carving out it from the southern part of Galicia, then under the governance of Count Raymond of Burgundy, a cousin of Henry and the husband of King's elder daughter Urraca. The failure of Count Raymond in defending the western front from Muslims, Almoravid, was also one of the reasons behind it. Count Henry had to fight hard to defend against Muslims, and with the help of local nobles and chivalry from France, he somehow defended the frontiers for 7 years when both parties were exhausted. In 1103, anticipating no further action in his county, the restless knight joined a crusade team for Palestine to fight against Muslims, leaving his nascent country administration under the wife Teresa. The beautiful Teresa, with an attractive personality, did well in uniting local nobility and in creating a distinct Portuguese identity. She also encouraged the citizens of cities for municipal governance and asked them to keep their fortifications in good repair and ready to go forth to war under captains of their own choice, rather than depending only on the hereditary nobility. The result of this policy was that in the next generation the military of the great nobles who resided in their castles went forth to fight side by side with the citizen under elected leader, mostly from church. However, these two distinct classes of the soldiers who came together against foreign foes were also a check upon each other at home and could be played off against one another in case either class became dangerous to their sovereign. In 1105, Henry returned from Palestine and aligned with his brother-in-arms Raymond of Galicia due to their common aspiration of inheriting portions of King Alfonso's dominions. As they were extremely suspicious that the old monarch will favor his natural son Sancho, whose mother was a Moorish princess, Jaida, the daughter of Emir of Seville, and was disliked by Christian clergy. But in the rapidly changing scenarios of the region, after the death of Count Raymond in 1107, followed by the death of young Sancho at the Battle of Ucals with the Moors in 1108, and finally by the death of Alfonso VI himself in 1109, King left all his dominions to his daughter Urraca. This resulted in intense fighting between Queen Urraca and Henry, a consummate opportunist, during which Muslims Almoravid quietly consolidated their power against the Christians. The Almoravid new Emir Ali, who succeeded his father Yusuf in Andalus and Morocco, after conquering nearby cities, laid siege to Toledo, while his famous general Sir ibn Abi Bakr reconquered the Moorish rebel emirs of the western town, and in 1112 besieged Santarém, the southernmost outpost of the county of Portugal. However, the sudden death of Sir relieved Henry, who had come back to his county to defend it. He again advanced in Leon and Castile area to join further intrigue, which did not last long. And on May 1, 1114, Count Henry died at Astorga, not without a suspicion that he had been poisoned by Queen Urraca, leaving his wife Teresa as a regent during the minority of his son Afonso Henriques, who was just 3 years old. Teresa, who made the ancient city of Guimarães her capital, devoted all her energies in building up her dominions into an independent state, Under her rule, while the Christian states of Iberia were torn by internecine war, the Portuguese began to recognize Portugal as an independent county and to cease from calling themselves Galicians, the first step towards the formation of a national spirit, which later grew into desire for national independence. In efforts to promote the unity of Portugal and its independence from Galicia, Teresa had support of all the inhabitants of cities whom she favored. In the ruling class, she had the support of the clergy but had the opposition from most of the nobility. Most nobles owned great estates in both Galicia and Portugal. The feudal grant of land conquered by the Christian kings from the Muslims were generally made to noblemen who had led large continents to their help. These nobles were naturally opposed to a separation between Portugal and Galicia, which would make them feudatories to two different lords and often oblige them in case of disputes between their suzerain to sacrifice one of their properties. On the other hand, the Portuguese bishops were suffragans of the reconstructed Archbishopric of Braga and owed no obedience to any Galician bishop. Indeed, they were especially hostile to the wealthiest of them, the powerful bishop of the great pilgrim city of Santiago de Compostela. Many Christian bishoprics continued to exist during the Muslim occupation and had a continuous history, but some had lapsed owing to poverty during Muslim occupation. The advantage of the Christian princes, which was due to religious as much as to political motives, brought about the re-establishment of the lapsed bishoprics and the increased endowment of those which had continued to exist. The new bishops became powerful barons holding great estates on military tenure. The center of these Portuguese bishops was the Archbishop of Braga, and it was naturally his policy to support the independence of the county of Portugal, for it was better for him to be the head of the church of an important county than to be merely part of Archbishop of the Kingdom of Galicia. The first great Archbishop of Braga, Maurice, a Frenchman and the companion in Palestine of Count Henry, who was promoted him from the bishopric of Coimbra to the metropolitan Braga. He was also supported by the Bishop of Porto, the most wealthy of his suffragans. The regency of Teresa was marked by many struggles, the history of which is now difficult to trace, but throughout them the growing unity of Portugal can be perceived. She took a keen interest in the politics of Galicia, hoping to extend her frontier to the north. In 1116, she led forces in person to the assistance of Diogo Guilmeriz, the Bishop of Santiago de Compostela, and the Count de Trava, who had headed a rising intended to depose Queen Urraca to place her young son Alfonso Raimundes on the throne of Galicia. In this war, Teresa took the towns of Teu and Orense. The warrior countess, in the course of it, met for the first time the young noble Don Fernando Perez de Trava, with whom she fell passionately in love, and whose history was for the future to be linked with hers. In 1117, the Moors under the Caliph Ali invaded her dominions and besieged her in Coimbra, but she succeeded in beating them off and spent the following years in peace and in the company of her lover, whom she made governor of Coimbra and Porto and Count of Trastemara, while to his elder brother Bermuda Perez de Trava she assigned the governorship of Bisu. But the peace and love did not last long. Her half-sister Urraca, the Queen of Castile, Leon and Galicia, free from intrigue with her second husband Alfonso I of Aragon, paid attention in Galicia. In 1121, Urraca led an army against her and defeated the Portuguese at Tui and took the Betenoire and her half-sister Countess of Portucale prisoner. It seems that the nascent independence of Portugal was about to be crushed. But Teresa's friend Bishop Guilmeriz came to her assistance and threatened to attack Urraca unless she made peace with her half-sister. Urraca was forced to sign the Treaty of Peace, which marked another stage in the growth of independence of Portugal. In this, Teresa was treated as the equal of Queen Urraca, who further promised to cede to her the cities and district of Toro, Zamora and Salamanca. Next few years of the half-sister were similar. Queen Urraca showered favors on her lover Don Pedro de Lara until her young son Alfonso Raymondus, assisted by Bishop Gelmiris, revolted against her, while Teresa, equally blind, devoted herself to Don Fernando Perez de Trava and thus aroused the hatred of her boy son Afonso Henriques and of Pio Mendes, the brother of powerful Portuguese Count Ciro Mendes of Porto, who in 1121 succeeded as Archbishop of Braga. As long as Teresa had remained the living symbol of Portuguese unity and independence, the bishop had followed her. But as soon as she showed her love for a Galician nobleman, they turned against her. The discontent with Teresa did not show itself openly until 1127 when Alfonso Raymondus, who had succeeded his mother Urraca as Alfonso VII in the preceding year as the King of Castile, Leon and Galicia, invaded Portugal and forced Teresa to recognize him as suzerain and to surrender her claims to Toy and Orense. The citizen of Guimarães, the capital of the county, at once rallied behind Afonso Henriques. But Afonso VII marched against the city, and Iga Moniz, the former tutor of Afonso, who was its governor, in order to make peace, promised on behalf of his former pupil that he would ratify Teresa's submission. Alfonso Henriques, however, though a boy of 17, absolutely refused to recognize the submission made by his mother and his tutor. And in 1128, he raised an army with the declared intention of expelling her mother Infanta Dona Teresa and her lover from the county, encouraged by Archbishop of Braga Pio and other Portuguese nobilities. On 24 June 1028, he defeated her mother Teresa and her army, consisting chiefly of Galician nobility, in the Battle of São Mamede near Guimarães. She was taken prisoner and was shortly afterwards expelled with the Don Fernando from the counties she had ruled so long. Thus ended the regency of Infanta Dona Teresa, who did not add a single town to her son's dominion, but had done more for Portugal than making conquests by asserting its independence. She had also prepared Portugal for southward expansion by encouraging the settlement of the orders of religious knights in those areas, which brought great results during the reign of her son. The last years of Teresa's life was quiet, and after her expulsion she wandered in Galicia with her lover until her death, when her body was taken to Portugal and buried beside her husband in the Cathedral